Hello and welcome to week 8 in biopsychology. And finally, we're going to stop talking about vision. We're going to go into the other sensory systems. That's the chapter 7 here. And we're looking at hearing and taste and touch and temperature and all these things, as we're winding out the study on the sensation systems. So I have a challenging discussion for you this time. What I want you to do, we're going to focus on taste and hearing for this particular assignment. And it used to be just taste, but then I figured I might include hearing. What I want you to do is to expose yourself to a taste, a food type or something, a musical piece that you dislike, that you do not like. And I want you to experience that, but do it introspectively. Try to experience that thing in the purely sensory way. And what is it about the sensations that you're experiencing that you find unpleasant? Being non-judgmental, you don't just go in, certainly your initial cognitive reaction might be, this is awful. But then I want you to think about the sensory aspects of what's going on, either in your taste buds and in your mouth, or listening to music that you find unpleasant, and kind of doing a little bit of that introspection that we look at, and sharing with each other your experience of something unpleasant, and whether or not you're enabling yourself to get into the actual sensation and sort of dissect that entire experience and describe it in that introspective way. Not an easy task. So, in the quiz is replicating what I had you do with the visual pathway. Now you're looking at the auditory pathway, and you'll see right from the start that we understand the visual pathway a lot more than we understand the auditory pathway. The auditory pathway is very, very intricate and very complex. So we're still looking at how that works, but what I had you do in the visual pathway is take a stimulus from the outside and trace it all the way through the brain into the visual processing centers of the entire brain. I want you to do the same thing, describing the pathway of audio information from the outside into the ear, through the inner ear, into the auditory nerves, up through the brain parts associated with processing audition, and then out to the brain areas that process language, sound, music, and whatnot. So describing all that in the same level of detail that you did when you did the visual one. Okay, we're in week 8, and what that means is last week, first announcement, last week was registration started. So if you need to start registering for classes for summer into the fall, please go ahead and start doing that. If you need some assistance with that, please reach out. So that needs to start happening. Week 8, the end of week 8 is right around when we're supposed to submit midterm grades. And the way I go about doing that is I take a look at the grades that are so far right up until week 7. I'm going to get everything graded from last week, look at all those grades, and determine some sort of fair way to tell you how you're doing so far. Now, sometimes the information that I have is really not giving a fair view of how you're doing. And sometimes I just only rely on one thing. I might just say, I think the quizzes are the ones that are really, and I'll just give you a grade, a letter grade or a numerical grade based on your quizzes, or maybe just your discussion post. The attendance grade, which is discussion, very often predicts final grades. So as well as you're doing on your discussions is probably a good indication about how well you're doing in the class as a whole. So here's what will happen. I will be posting those grades on the portal. I do not have a mechanism, I've not built a mechanism into the grade book in Brightspace to give you feedback on your midterm grade. That will be in the portal. However, I will make a post in the announcements telling you how I'm going to calculate that grade. So you'll know how I arrived at that particular decision. Third, we're heading into spring break. So after this week, we have a week off. I hope you have plans to not do coursework for a while. I myself will be leaving the country on Thursday. I'm out of here. And so I will be away. I'm going to get my midterm grades in a little bit early, and I'll be absent. I encourage you to be absent as well. And so that will be our spring break. We'll be coming back into week 10. So week 9 sort of like is the blank week, spring break, spring recess. We will not be having any courses or expectations during that time. And I believe what that means is the work that you're doing this week that I just described is not due until the following week, the end of spring break. So you sort of have 2 weeks to get that done. I won't be grading them when they come in on Monday because I won't have my computer. And I don't want to grade them while on break. So you have some extra time to get those things in. Get the discussions done. Get that done during the week. Take a break from that. The break could be, I encourage you not to do any schoolwork, but if you are behind on anything, this is a good way to, chop some of those branches off and just get it done. And so good time to catch up, and then we can get back into the groove on week 10. And at that point, there's only 1/3 of the class left. And so things will start happening very quickly at that time. So I look forward to seeing your work this week. I'll be posting about your midterm grades. Be well, have a great week, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.